much for honoring us with your presence and enabling us to address you. I'm Joel Salatin, who I co-own Polyface Incorporated, a farm in Shenandoah Valley that you may have heard about or read about, known as the Lunatic Farm. And I don't have a copy of this, so you'll have to listen. I'm sorry. But I wanted to write this so that I wouldn't get distracted. What is a farm? The original right to farm law sought relief for nuisance suits leveled at noise, odors, and dust from production agriculture. At that time, farmland preservation and industrial agriculture were both in their infancy, and nobody was denying farmers the right to participate entrepreneurially in integrated food and fiber activities. Three movements since then now attack these entrepreneurial activities. One, industrial or factory farming. As this production model began dominating the agricultural landscape, it fundamentally changed farms from multidisciplinary economic engines like Williamsburg and Monticello to simply raw commodity producers for rural export. Rather than being a hub of complementary synergistic enterprises, farms morphed into single species, segregated mass production. One movement. Number two, farmland preservation efforts. As traditional value-added enterprises left the landscape, those processes and their urbanized labor force created development pressure. This led open space protectionists to contrive numerous legal instruments that would remedy the pressure. Conservation easements, transfer of development rights, and restrictive zoning, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Because these grew out of an industrial production-only paradigm, their language was prejudicial toward the type of synergistic, value-added, multidimensional integrated farming practice half a century ago. The third movement, domestic culinary arts abandonment. Corporatized branded industrial food replaced the home as epicenter of processing, packaging, and preserving, which moved the farmer's share of the retail dollar from 40% in 1940 to roughly 11% today and trending downward. In other words, we could just say farmers won't get any money for their produce and it would only change the price of food 11%. The shift toward TV dinners, unpronounceable ingredients, and multi-year shelf-stable foods divorced people from agrarian understanding and traditional visceral interaction with soil, air, and water. Indeed, even environmentalism carried an ethereal mystique that ecology was out there somewhere rather than personally integrated into our day-to-day living. Today, roughly half a century later, these three mature movements are giving way to three new movements. And this is the critical thing. The three new movements today are: one, smaller, diversified, multi-speciated entrepreneurial farms. Far more productive per square yard, these multidimensional, synergistic, and symbiotic farms replace pharmaceuticals with management and machinery with artisanal employment. These farms practice bioreplication rather than bioadulteration. Number two, agritourism, direct marketing, and value-adding farms. These multi-dimension integrated farms practice yesteryear's processing, packaging, and preserving on a community-appropriate and neighbor-friendly scale. From the local food tsunami to a burgeoning farmers' direct marketing association to explosive growth in farmers' markets, farm and fiber connections reintegrate an accountability web and recreate on-farm profit centers. And finally, number three, renewed interest in domestic culinary arts. Who would have predicted 30 years ago that we would have a food channel and Julia Child would be eclipsed by Guy Fieri? Environmental deficit disorder, the term invented by Richard Louv, has spawned a plethora of farm food connection businesses and activities. People want and need to come to farms, and farms desperately need the income that direct customer contact generates. This assembly's responsibility is to protect the right to life, liberty, and property in the midst of cultural evolution. You could title HB 1430 the right to pursue a profitable farm bill, and it couldn't be more appropriate or timely. Current legislation enslaves farmers to raw colonialism, whereby they can only produce raw commodities for urban industrial scale manufacturing. It's time to emancipate farmers, freeing them to express their entrepreneurial savvy. That birthday parties, woodworking shops, and commercial kitchens are prohibited uses on farms is not only tyrannical, it's outdated. Let's pass this bill and let freedom come to Virginia's food and farming community. Thank you very much.